After high school, I started working for a Dodge dealership, Jake's Electronics, which was aftermarket ignition systems, hired at Hot Rod Magazine by Jeff Smith. After that, I was the editor of Four Wheel and Off-Road, the editor of Carcraft, the editor of Rod and Custom. Then I launched Hot Rod Deluxe, which turned into an investment from YouTube into Motor Trend. And we started doing Roadkill on YouTube, and then on streaming, and then on cable TV as well. That's when we became actually the most viewed automotive show on YouTube, although we were right there with Mighty Car Mods, and I just didn't want to do it. And I remember he told me, he's like, you just destroyed your whole career. You're done here. Kind of like you'll never get hired in this town again.
Welcome to another edition of Oil and Whiskey. Today we have editorial automotive extraordinaire David Freiburger. Dave, welcome to Oil and Whiskey.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's weird to hear you say editorial guy. It's been so long since I thought of myself that way. I still consider myself a journalist, having done all those magazines over the years, Hot Rod, Carcraft, Rod and Custom, but I've been doing TV for so long, it's strange to be called an editor.
Yeah, but that's what, I mean, like, mattered back in the day. That's what got you your start, and that's what you cut your teeth.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, Google's got you labeled as a YouTuber. So how do you feel about that? Is that how you would describe yourself?
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Google it.
I just started doing my YouTube channel in earnest 2 weeks ago. I haven't done it up until now. I've had a channel. I posted stuff occasionally, but it's strange that I would be labeled under that. Usually I come up under Roadkill. Obviously, I do Roadkill, Roadkill Garage, and Engine Masters for Motor Trend.
It's a TV personality.
Yeah,
TV star.
I said automotive extraordinaire. I mean, shit, what else do you want?
Just covers all the bases, right?
I put it all in there. This is something we've been looking forward to for a while. We've seen each other at various events and places and things and stuff like that for a long time. We don't know each other. We've never sat down and had a conversation, and I've always been very interested, and I know the other guys as well have. I know that your story has been out there. You've talked about it on TV. You've talked about it on YouTube. You've talked about it in editorials, and it's out there. However, for the listeners that may or may not know, I'm interested in you're a SoCal guy, right?
Yep, born in Hollywood.
And how you got into where the hell you are right now?
I'll try and condense this.
So
I've never had a job. Yeah, exactly. The earth cooled. Yeah. I've never had a job that wasn't automotive. And I think I got that through my dad. He was a TV commercial producer, and he had clients like Plymouth and Goodyear. So we would go to the races when I was a kid. And after high school, I started working for a Dodge dealership, which turned into a gig at Jake's Electronics, which was aftermarket ignition systems. Through that, I got to know magazine guys. So I got hired at Hot Rod Magazine by Jeff Smith in 1991. After that, I was the editor of Four Wheel and Off-Road, the editor of Carcraft, the editor of Rod and Custom. Then I went to Hot Rod. Then I launched Hot Rod Deluxe. And while I was doing that, that's when the company wanted more video stuff on the websites. And so me and Mike Finnegan started doing that, which turned into an investment from YouTube into Motor Trend. And we started doing Roadkill on YouTube, and then on streaming, and then on cable TV as well.
Damn.
So,
well,
that's
thanks everybody for listening to Oil and Whiskey.
That's sort of the career path.
Jacobs Electronics, man, I haven't heard that name in I don't know how long. Those are little blue boxes with the little silver logo thing on them, right? Wasn't that Jacobs?
The energy system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were ignition boxes similar to an MSD, but obviously under the brand Jacobs. My claim to fame there is having developed the idea for porcelain spark plug boots. We had a lot of RV customers. They were burning up spark plug wires. And I said, you know what doesn't burn is the spark plug itself. It's made of porcelain. And so Chris Jacobs, who ran the place, engineered that. And interestingly, the ceramic for those boots came from Coors in Golden, Colorado, like Coors beer.
Really?
Damn.
Yeah, it's wild. They have, wherever they get their water, pure Rocky Mountain spring water, they have to dig up a bunch of clay to get to it, and they take that clay and they make porcelain out of it.
Did Burt Reynolds and Jerry Reed run it down to you?
I wish.
That's quick.
So did you know at an early age you had all those? At what point were you thinking magazines?
I never thought I would do this as a living. I was just a high school kid who had no idea what I was going to do for a living. And I was a collector of old magazines. I was addicted to them. And I had every subscription you could get. And I would go buy old magazines at a place called Book Castle, used bookstore. So I was really into it, but I didn't plan to do it. I lucked into it.
Throughout all the years and all the magazines, all the TV shows, all of the trends and the changes and the stuff, you've stayed you. You stayed interested in the things that you're interested in. And that's more old school, right? It's carbureted, it's, for lack of a better, it's Carcraft magazine. It's that look.
Yeah. And what you're trying to say subtly is that I'm a dinosaur.
No. And this isn't a negative thing, and it's not a dig. I want to know honestly is that just what you're interested in, and that's the only thing you're going to do, or purposefully have you made that decision to just stay in that lane because that's your thing, to be anti?
This is a great question. As the editor of a lot of those car magazines, you have to be interested in a lot of things, and you have to recognize greatness, even in areas that aren't your particular niche. And for example, I think you guys remember I was one of the judges on the SEMA Battle the Builders deal. And obviously there's very high-end cars there that the public does not associate me with, but I was able to judge them from all my years of having dealt with those types of things for the magazines. Now, I think that I got pigeonholed into what you're talking about, being an old school muscle car carburetor guy, in doing Roadkill. And it has sort of carved my niche as far as who my audience is, which is why I think I've stuck with it. I am interested in more stuff than just that.
But you don't want to let everybody know all your interests. Are you going to go? You're not going to do a Roadkill. You're not going to do a YouTube thing like on a new 911 Carrera or something like that.
Highly unlikely. That is definitely out of my realm. If it's not American hot rodding stuff, be it Riddler Award stuff or dirtball stuff, it's got to be somewhere in there, or in the four-wheel drive area. I also dig that a lot, although people don't see a bunch of that out of me.
Gotcha. How was working for John Diana?
Johnny was really good to me. It's interesting you ask that. The audience probably doesn't know his name. He was the guy who was the president of the division that had Hot Rod and Carcraft magazines and all the others for so long. And he was known as a tyrant. But he was actually good for me overall in my career. I remember a couple of times when he did ream me. I remember I was the editor of Four Wheel and Off Road, and he came in with some cover and he said, "I am going to kick your ass up and down the hall. This is garbage." And that's the type of thing that he would do. And also, he offered me the editorship of Hot Rod Magazine when I was the editor of Four Wheel and Off Road, and I actually said no. At the time, it was a real political hot potato. I saw the stress that those guys were under, and I just didn't want to do it. And I remember he told me, he's like, "You just destroyed your whole career. You're done here." Kind of like you'll never get hired in this town again. But then 5-6 years later, he hired me as the editor of Hot Rod. Actually, that was Doug Evans who did that. Johnny was gone at that point, but he was a character. It was interesting to work with. I loved his history in drag racing. His dad was amazing. His dad was a World War II vet who told stories about sailing into Pearl Harbor the day after the attack.
Oh, wow.
So overall, it was a great experience for me working with him.
Have you tried any of those tactics in today's day and age?
Yeah.
You could not be John Diana in today's day and age. The stuff I saw in the history of Peterson Publishing Company, the stories from when, before I started, and the stuff that happened afterwards, you absolutely could not do today. It was like Mad Men.
That's I never knew him. I've heard, I'm sure, a portion of the stories that you lived and saw firsthand, but I've heard a lot of stories. And it was, I've always, in my mind, looked at it as like he was patterning his life after, Peterson, right? And also everything he's heard about, the great, big three designers like Bill Mitchell and all these crazy stories that you heard about what they did back in the day with petty cash and riding, horse-drawn carriages into the, I think it was the Ritz-Carlton back in the day and stuff. And it just seemed like all the stories I heard was basically, him reliving those things. And it was wild, the stuff. Wild.
One of my first memories is, let's see, I started in December of 91. So it would have been 1992, my first SEMA show with the company. And we would have parties, man. The hot rod party was legendary back then. But we were at a bar and we had taken over the entire bar. And John Diana goes around, he says, think of a number. And everyone had to go and tell their number. And apparently it was me because it got to me. And he goes, you're paying the bill.
That's fucking company car, man.
Yeah, here I am at like 24 years old or something like that, having to pay the bill for the whole bar. Of course, it was company card. He was going to approve it. But I just remember thinking, this is nuts.
Wow.
And I never met him in all the years, we've been advertising with him. I don't know what circle you're running in, but I never heard the stories.
Josh is in an older circle.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of stuff has been from Josh Mishler. And that was, he went on to do Buckaroo after that with Street Rod Builder and stuff like that. So crazy. He was big into Mercedes and wore red a lot too, didn't he? I know he was big into Mercedes. He had a coupe Mercedes. At what point in time, how early on are you seeing the change in print media from what it was when you coming in to seeing the decline? You also went through a bunch of regime changes.
Oh, absolutely. We call it Pepsi. There was Peterson, EMAP, Primedia, Source, Interlink. And then after that, there was 10. Yeah. There was a lot of companies who have owned the publishing business over the years. When did I start to see the decline? I mean, I obviously lived through the change in print. There was 64 car magazines at one time, and now there's 2, Hot Rod and Motor Trend. I would say that we began to see that. Well, I can tell you this. When I started at Hot Rod, I remember getting reamed by the circulation department, the entire staff, because we had fallen below, I think, 500,000 sales on the newsstand, 500,000. And it was steadily downhill from there. The good news for the company is that surprisingly, they were able to make up for it in web.
Do you think, and I know the cliche answer and everything goes into, the times are changing and, everybody abandoned, they didn't get on the digital train fast enough and all this. If the quality, if there was less magazines and they focused more on the quality of the book itself, do you think it would have lasted longer or it was doomed?
I think the entire world shifted. It's not that the product sucked. It's that the whole world went away from print media. So I think it was inevitable either way.
How long before it swings back?
Well, vinyl records are coming back, right?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
It'll always be there in a niche like that. Vinyl records are a small amount of collectors willing to pay a whole lot of money. And I think you're already seeing that in print. Hot Rod Magazine just went quarterly. They increased the quality. You've seen maybe Sick Magazine, which is just all about drag and drive events. And that's a big, thick, high quality magazine. But it's expensive and it's infrequent. And so I think, therefore, it becomes more special and there'll always be a market for that.
You think there's going to be the hipster wearing Carhartt holding on to a vintage Hot Rod magazine just think he's cool?
Yeah. I'm sure they're doing it right now.
I'll bet it'll turn around. I mean, I'm big into vinyl stuff, and I think the thing I like about it is that it teaches you or forces you to have patience. I've got like massive music ADD. So if I'm in the car, it's like seldom do I even finish a song. You have everything right there at your fingertips. But
last chorus, boom.
Yeah,
hit on to the next
throw
one.
an album on and you sit down there and you listen to it start to finish, flip it, do it again. That same goes with a magazine. You're in it for a little bit of time. You can't just bounce from YouTube video to YouTube video, from website to website or Instagram. I mean, you consume tens of thousands of pictures like in a week, on YouTube or on Instagram.
And you're all over the board.
Right.
Here's the thing that they say internally, and keep in mind, I don't actually work for the publishing company anymore. I'm a Warner Brothers employee. But inside the publishing company, we would always say that magazines are lean back reading and the web is lean forward reading. It's not the same experience.
That makes sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. When
You triggered something on me. I'm thinking of John Diana stories, and here's one that would even apply to you guys. Probably 1993, 1994, he called the Hot Rod Magazine staff together and he said, you guys need to stop writing about 69 Camaros. They don't make them anymore. We're going to run out of them, and you're going to be outdated. You got to start writing about newer stuff.
What
and
year was that?
Yeah, 93 or 94.
Okay.
And what are we still building right now? I'm working on a 68 Camaro on my driveway today.
Yeah.
I know you guys touch them every week.
There's like a new one rolls into the shop every month, it seems like.
It's our highest selling chassis.
Number one chassis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And do you see that? Do you have younger customers, or is it all 50 plus guys?
No, we do. It's shifted like tremendously.
The majority of our customers are under 50, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, it's been that
That's
way.
great.
It's been that way for quite a while, to the point where now they're like getting older again. Like those guys were coming to us in their early 40s, right?
Yeah.
And you know,
But it's
now
been 10 years.
It's been 10 years, right? So now,
Yeah.
But you got a ton of guys in their, you know, early 50s, and it's changed tremendously. But they're still all into that shit. I mean, it's weird to see a guy like in his 40s that wants to build a Tri-5. You're like, what happened in your life that like made you do that? Like it's just strange to me. It's,
But they're also,
grandpa had one, and there was a story about that.
Yeah.
that mid 40s guy that's you know, became successful, and his kids are just old enough, you know, 5, 7, 8, 9 or whatever, and he's doing that. They're less brand loyal, and they're less like pigeonholed into one type of car or style. It's kind of like, man, I want a truck, I want a fast car, I want a cruising car. You know, I like an Impala, but I also like a Camaro, and there's a lot of things. It's not, they don't come in and like, man, you know, this will be my 5th Tri-5, or this will be, you know, it's got to be a 69 Camaro, and I'm trying to relive this, you know, because they're not. A lot of these guys aren't reliving the car that they had in high school. They're reliving the stuff that they saw in magazines or movies or stuff like that.
And I'm totally stoked on that. You say that I'm sort of pigeonholed in one area, but man, I love to see a younger guy who's got a square body with a Hellcat in it that is a mix of a road race car and a off-road car. I love the mixed metaphor like that.
Yeah, it's nuts, the things that it's crazy though too on the expectations of that customer, because like their first car, you know, could have been a 90 Mustang, you know, or something. So their expectation of like modern vehicles up through the day, and then driving something is different than a guy that his first car was a 54 Chevrolet. You know, the guy that's first car was a 54 Chevrolet, you know, that does a 70 Camaro, you know, with full chassis and everything like that. He's like, holy shit.
He's happy that it goes 50 miles an
I
hour.
can't believe I can actually drive it and steer, you know, and stuff like that. It's different. What you're used to.
Yeah. I think with those younger guys, it's almost like, you know, you see kids wandering around and stuff, and it's like a kid walking around with bell bottoms and a Nirvana t-shirt with a trucker hat, right? They're all like different eras, you know, but they're all kind of cool. And you see that a lot. Like you said, you got a square body with a Hellcat motor, and then a dude's like, well, I've got to import, and like, you know, I put a sequential in that or so. Let's fucking put a sequential in it. It's like you see these crazy like conglomerations of just what the fuck did you build there, but it's cool.
Yeah, the boxes are just getting, well, there is no box anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't really matter. I mean, like you said, I mean, the Hellcat in a square body is a perfect example, because gone are the days. Every now and then you will still get a little shit for doing, you know, the LSs and the Mustangs and stuff like that, but it's not like it once was, you know. It's just it's one of those things, like you got to say something about it because you noticed it, you know, but it's not like it pisses you off. I mean,
right.
Put a Coyote in a Camaro, see what happens.
And
well, that's a little different.
I would. Yeah. I've swung a 426 Hemi in one of my Camaros. You can do these things. In fact, I'm thinking about putting a Cleveland in one. If you look at the old 50s car magazines, you'll see that brand loyalty didn't exist then. It was, what engine can I get out of the junkyard that is the cheapest and biggest power one, which is why you saw nailheads in Fords and Hemis and Buicks and just all over the place. I think it was the rise of muscle cars in that era that established the brand loyalty. When you had Grumpy Jenkins out there and he was a Chevy guy, and you had Sox and Martin and they were Plymouth guys, I think that's where guys my generation and a little earlier ended up being attached to, it's got to be a Ford and a Ford, a Chevy and a Chevy. And now that's all going away.
Dude, that's funny. I've never thought about it that way because, I mean, we cut our teeth on hot rod stuff, so we're no stranger to putting every manufacturer's motor in every type of car. And you never think about that. Like, as it shifted into the muscle car era, yeah, it get like super brand loyal because every fucking 30s car was some Cadillac, Nailhead, Hemi.
But they weren't performance oriented.
Well, they were.
Well, and the
they
last
were they were trying to go fast, right? So, yeah, why would you fuck around with a Coyote when you could put an LS in it and it's a hell of a lot easier to make more power? Yeah, brand loyalty.
What's the last engine you put in a 32 Ford? A small block Ford.
Yeah.
And you know what? It wasn't traditional because guys used small block Chevys and flatheads back in the day. And so even though there are, put blue and blue, Ford diehard guys, I think it's just not traditional to have a Ford engine in a 30s Ford.
Yeah, because you're recreating history, and the history was they did something else.
And with that fucking deep front sump pan, that's the only thing it should be going in. It's fucking wide open there.
Yeah, I would pick the small block Ford over a flathead any day. The flatheads sound good,
too.
but I mean,
man, I wore the right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a small block Ford, and I would put one in my Camaro, except for what you just mentioned. The front oil pump just hits every cross member ever made.
Yeah,
but you can dry sump them.
Yeah, that's true.
When did other forms of media, when you're seeing the writing on the wall as far as print go, your TV show, where did those discussions start coming about? Roadkill and any of the stuff where essentially you'd been not behind the scenes. I mean, you had a face out there. Everybody knew who you were, but you were a writer, right? You were a photographer. You were doing those types of things. You weren't you weren't a personality at that point. So you had to become a personality.
Yeah, I would say I was pretty well known for hardcore magazine guys, but we've been doing Roadkill 13 years. So it was about 14 years ago when, I was kicking off hotrod.com. I was the editor that sort of started and grew that. Actually, I would say it started a little bit before me, which would have been 2001. It probably started in 2000 and there was a group that was doing that, but it was my responsibility to grow it. And one of the things the company really wanted to do on the websites was more video. And so Finnegan and I started just recording whatever we were doing. And that became video on the websites, which ended up becoming video on YouTube. And what happened is that at the time, YouTube really wanted to compete with cable TV. So they came to 100 companies and they gave them a bunch of money to create new television style content just for YouTube. And Motor Trend rose to the top on that. They were one of only 10 companies that got that investment the following year. So that's when we became actually the most viewed automotive show on YouTube, although we were right there with Mighty Car Mods out of Australia, who started well before we did and who's still going. But that was the real transition for me from print into video, and it overlapped for a long time. I think that I did Hot Rod Magazine concurrent with Hot Rod Deluxe, concurrent with being an editorial director over a bunch of junk, while also doing Roadkill. And then eventually I stepped away from the print and only did TV.
Was the TV video stuff something you were excited about, or was that something that's kind of forced on you? Did you see the potential future in it, or were you pretty married to the print side?
When we first got onto YouTube, I remember thinking, nobody's going to watch a half-hour TV show on YouTube. This is about 15-second cat videos. So I did not see it coming at all. I was not that guy, and it boomed and took off. But I hung on to the magazines for as long as I could because I love print. I loved doing it. But I will tell you, the major thing that's way better about TV is you show up, you do the stuff, you walk away, someone else edits it, and I don't have to manage anybody. That was the biggest part of doing TV for me.
Yeah, that is pretty good. I mean, we do a ton of it here. I mean, we're doing a ton of YouTube content and video content. It's funny, I look back at it must have been like 2006, 2007. We first started filming. Yeah. Came up with, let's do some YouTube videos. And it was fucking painful, right? Like, I haven't watched them because I'm embarrassed to go back and watch them. But I can imagine it's got to be just painfully bad. Right?
I'm sure Elliot could find some and pipe those in right now.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's coming, right? Yeah. But It's progressed. I mean, it's unbelievable how that progressed and how easy it is now. Because to your point, like now we jump in a car, we do a video, walk out of the car, and it's fucking done. Back to work. Elliot edits it. Comes out really good.
Right. Yeah, the editing part has been. I wanted to know on your side when you start laying that stuff out, you're planning the episode. You know, are you approaching that similar to what you would approach, you know, writing an article from an information standpoint, and then trying to sprinkle in what you think is going to be entertaining, or you're just like, this is something I want to do, film it. I'm sure there'll be some funny dumb shit happen.
The latter. There is virtually no planning on our shows. It was even less planned in the beginning. Now I would say it's sort of outlined. Like, what do we want to do? We want to get this car, fix it, go to this event. And that's about the extent of it. Mike Finnegan and I just wing it. It is typically us sitting around either in the car while we're driving somewhere or having a beer at night, just going, you know what would be cool? And we just go do it. The show has no format.
That's probably why it's successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when we first came out, we were definitely the anti-reality show. You know, there was no fake drama. There was no cliffhangers. There was no, you know, guys with ironic facial hair. You know, it wasn't.
Are you pointing that? Is that a dig at Kindig? That sounds like a dig.
I didn't even think about it. No. I guess it was an accidental one. I did. But you know what? Even their show, Bitchin' Rides, it's not faked.
No.
Right.
But reality TV had the reputation for being that, and we were the not that. And I think we still are. People accuse us of it all the time. They say, oh, you're scripted, you're fake, that didn't happen. And yeah, it kind of did.
Well, I mean, anybody that's in the know knows that if you're going to buy a Craigslist purchase, you know, in Indiana and drive it back across country, you don't have to manufacture any drama. I guarantee you there's going to be some shit that goes wrong, and it'll be funny, and you got to figure it out. And we've been on those road trips, nothing like the fixes that you guys have done, but we know there's times that things have to be done. And it's, if somebody was there filming when I fixed Jeff Greening's Panhard bar, right? That would have been a great fucking episode, you know. But turns out hose clamps and a 3/8 extension will make a good splint on a just cracked Panhard bar and get you at least to a weld shop.
Dude, if somebody was there,
write that down.
If somebody was there too to see you modify and shave George Poteet's front spoiler off his Camaro,
Well,
that'd be a good one too.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck this.
That was
spoiler.
Garfield's. That was Garfield's spoiler.
Okay,
Yeah.
fuck the spoiler.
Yeah, that was I wouldn't consider it a shave. It was just a flat blow off.
Just an elimination of.
Yeah, the thing was low.
Dude, it was. I will say, you know, hats off to you. That the show is like really, really good. It's on in my house all the time. You know, I'm not going to say I'm not a fan, but it's not because I'm a huge fan. My son, he probably started watching it when he was like 9, 10 years old, and I don't think he's missed a fucking episode. I mean, it is on all the time. I come home from work, it's on the fucking TV. I'm like, honestly, like I feel like I really know you, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting a little
always
sick
in
of
his
this.
house.
Like, can you watch anything else? Like, is this all you watch?
Well, I would say that the single most rewarding thing about my stupid, meaningless job is when kids will come up to me, a 25-year-old, and they'll tell me, I started watching when I was 15 and I'm into cars because you guys made it accessible. And now they're working for you guys or at a manufacturer. And the thing that's interesting is we do hack stuff, but guys get inspired to get into the car industry and they don't necessarily stick with that. They're on a Top Fuel team or on a build show or a build company that's doing nice stuff. And that's been really rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, it makes it like obtainable too, because, you know, what you guys are doing is kind of do it yourself style. Like you go back and watch rides back in the day and see Troy Heavy, you know, and you're like, dude, fuck me. I'm never going to be able to do that. Like, it just discourages you from getting into it. This is like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
I could pull this motor out. This is, you know, and more the in-depth stuff where you actually can learn of, like, you know, this is how you set valves. This is how you do those types of stuff, but while it's being entertaining as well. I've always been impressed from anything that you've been involved with, and I'm interested to know if some of this was your direction. You mentioned earlier at the beginning that being with the magazines, you had to show interest or at least report air quotes, on the things that were going on, regardless if you were into them or not. I remember a time, this would have been maybe 08, 09, that Hot Rod Magazine, you did the basically SEMA call out to do the Hot Rod Power Tour. And you went through and basically picked, and it was presented in such a way, I think it kind of changed from what it intended to, but it was presented in a way of like, we're going and finding the baddest damn cars at SEMA and challenge them. I bet you can't make it on the Power Tour. It was kind of the way. And it was really, really cool to see that back then. You had Optima kind of just starting that deal too, of basically doing the golden ticket and saying, hey, it's a badass car. You just won all these awards, but what will it do? And where did that idea come from on your side?
I don't think that was me. I think that was a growing trend in the industry. I think Good Guys was starting to do it. I think you saw individual manufacturers who were pushing that. Wasn't it Posey who did a drive to SEMA and like you had to park your car dirty inside the show?
Yeah, the dirty.
I think. Yep.
The Dirty Dozen.
There was that. Dirty Dozen. Something like that.
We all think we're innovators, but fucking Brizio's been driving cross country in his 32s for
he has.
You go back to the days of Gray Baskerville at Hot Rod Magazine, and he was doing that with Boyd and with Brizio, but it was a small thing that very few people were willing to do, and I think it just grew traction to the point that a lot of shops figured, I have to at least claim that this thing is going to get driven, or I look like a wiener. And it it grew from there. Hot Rod Power Tour, subsequently Drag Week, where we make drag cars drive from track to track for 5 days and race their cars. QA1 has the Just Drive It hashtag. I think it's still going.
The Drag Week thing is wild. It's not in our world, but it's crazy to me from the outside looking in. It's basically because you did that event, it's created a whole new way to build a car. It's a Drag Week car. It's not a drag car that goes on Drag Week. You're building a Drag Week car.
I would have loved to have been listening in like the initial thoughts of what we're going to do with these drag cars and drive them 5,000 miles and do 10 different...
they can pull a trailer if they need to, throw some DOTs on it, and let's go.
I mean, we got to put like a radiator. We got to put a radiator in it?
I can tell you how that started. 2005, it was an outgrowth of the Hot Rod Magazine Fastest Street Car Shootout that we're doing in the early 90s, where we were gathering cars at Memphis, Tennessee, and people who claimed that they were the fastest street car in America. And we said, well, the only way to prove that is to actually do it. Later on, everybody said, those aren't real street cars. And so we started making them do a 30-mile cruise. Then that became bogus. And ultimately, when I was the editor of Hot Rod, I was like, I'm so sick of this argument about what is and isn't a street car. If we make them drive 1,000 miles and race 5 times, nobody is going to argue it. And I ripped off the idea of one lap of America, and we put together the very first one. And next week, I will be doing the live feed calling the 20th Hot Rod Drag Week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hard to believe.
So impressive to see some of those cars, because those are things that you look at, you're like, I mean, there's some dicey stuff on the highway, and those are like the A-arms are like twigs. It's not meant to do that. I mean, there's got to be some fucking horror stories of just like full front suspension assemblies just shearing off on I-65 or something.
You hit a pothole in Gary, Indiana.
Sorry to interrupt. There's less of those stories than there used to be because guys have figured out how to do it and they know what will and won't work. Heim joints was a big problem for a long time. If you get a China Heim joint that's no good, those break. Yep. People have figured out how to make electric fuel pumps live. Transmissions used to die because they would overheat them really badly with loose torque converters. Lifters used to die. They started making bushed lifters. So it has developed a lot for the aftermarket.
It is crazy to see, though, what Drag Week has gotten to now when you're seeing the types of what's in those trailers where, spare tranny, spare motor, like it's wild, the stuff. And I mean, running it like a top fuel team. It's like, pop that one, no problem. 45 minutes, we'll be good to go.
And yet we do have awards for the fastest car with no trailer and the fastest car that never opened their hood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's the time usually for those? For a car that doesn't open its hood, what's standard times?
10s.
10s? 10-second car.
10s is easy. Late model stuff. You throw a Pro Charger or something on them and just go.
Yeah.
So
Fucking Vin Diesel was driving those things all over town and still clicking off 10s back in the day.
Quarter mile at a time.
Well,
What's the fastest time it's been run on Drag Week?
599 at 250.
Oh,
is that Lutz or S10?
Tom Bailey.
Bailey.
Tom Bailey.
let's scoot.
Yep. And he'll be back again next week.
Are we like a year or 2 years off from a full Top Fuel funny car doing Drag Week?
No one's ever gone that far. It's pro mods at this point. But, the interest has fallen away from those super, super extreme cars. And it's the small tire cars that are getting a lot of attention now. And guys are looking at running 6s in the quarter on radials at Drag Week.
Yeah, I mean, turbos have come such a long way. Turbos, EFI, the ECUs. It's
6s on radials, though. Small tire radials. That's
traction control, baby.
Yep. Traction control, baby.
Putting it down.
The horsepower is no longer the problem. It's managing it that is the thing.
Do you get more street cred coming up with a weird, unique car or the top speed car?
You get more attention with the weird, unique car. I think there's always a standout guy at Drag Week that just has brought a freak show and has the right attitude. And here's a good example of one. Have you seen the wheel standing milk truck?
no.
It's an actual, I guess, early 50s, late 40s Divco milk truck with a twin turbo big block in it. And it does wheel stands, 3 feet high, and it only runs 10s, but it's the star of the show because it's such a freak.
Is there a name associated with it? Going back to the NSRA hot rod days, milk truck's got to have a phenomenal name. It's
something
utterly fantastic. Milkshaker, like something.
Damn.
We used to rattle those off all the time every time you see a milk truck.
Utterly fantastic.
Pulls there.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. So after everything that's gone on, all of the different cars that you've seen, what cars that you saw that aren't your thing, right? Pro Builder, Street Machine, whatever. What was some cars back in the day that you liked more than you thought you ever would, or gave a shit about more than you ever thought you would? Something that just did it for you that is not your thing.
Oh, well, that's a tough one. There's been so many over the dam at this point. I remember we featured a 69 Camaro with a 2JZ in it in Hot Rod Magazine. Everybody said, you can't do that. People are going to be so mad. And I said, that's why I'm doing it.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
I remember that as being really cool just because it irritated the loyalists. I have trouble getting behind most Riddler cars, but there have been some high-end show cars that I've really liked. I wish I could think of an exact example of one. What was that red 49 Chevy that came out of San Diego that won Riddler maybe 10 years ago? Firecracker? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Hot Rods and Hobbies, I think, built it.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. What was the name of that? Was it Fire? It wasn't Firecracker. It was. I know the car. That was Scott from.
I thought. Oh, was it Scott's Hot Rods?
No, it was Scott from Hot Rods and Hobbies.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah,
but
that one I remember as being a good one. I remember when you guys did Jesse James 64 Polara.
Yeah.
And I felt a little vindicated on that because I was like, hey, this is my style. Bitchin' mechanical stuff, but a patina car. Yeah. I love that thing. So that's not really out of my wheelhouse, I guess. It's just out of my pocketbook.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully Jesse gets it across the finish line.
It's running, isn't it? Supposedly. I thought it was running.
I haven't heard that. But the 2JZ thing's cool. We did a spec chassis. Who's the dude that did that in a...
TJ Hunt.
Yeah, TJ Hunt did it in a 65, 66 Mustang. I mean, that's a rad motor. It's lightweight, makes shit tons of power. It sounds pretty cool. Packages and most things. What's there to not like about it, you know?
Yeah, I'm with
It's Japanese. That's people's problem with it.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, that's the old white guy problem with it anyway.
Yeah. I suppose. I
mean, but so is his Casio and its TV.
And his New Balances.
His New Balances.
Yeah.
Well, we got some standard questions that we go through. Some of them, unfortunately, because we know about you, like first car one, like we can't go down the guessing of the first car. I mean, I know it's a Mopar. I've actually, I think you've talked about it, you know, quite in depth about. It was a Super B, or was it a?
Was
Right
it
here.
Was it the car
Is
from
this on
Joe
camera?
Dirt?
No, I
it's
can't
not.
see it.
We're just out of frame.
I might have it. Well, that's getting awkward. I have a lunchbox with my car on it. It's a 1970 Dodge Super B that I got when I was 15, and I still have it.
Sick.
How did you acquire a Super B at 15?
I got good grades, and my grandmother bought it for me. It was $1,800.
Is that the one? Is it a Super B or a satellite that I saw that you put a Hemi in, like a 426 Hemi, dual quads? I think I saw on it.
Just recently, I took a 69 Belvedere that is a total beater and threw a Hemi and a 4-speed in it. I think Hemis are wildly overrated, but obviously they have good curb appeal.
Yeah, there's a
and
prominence.
I've always wanted to have one that you could just drive like it was absolutely nothing. So I had, this sounds ridiculous, I had a spare one that was sitting around that I had traded it for a car 20 years ago. And we put it in this beater Belvedere.
It is cool. I get it because the Hemi, there's just this prominence about it. I've got a 65 Belvedere, and we're at that stage right now where I'm like, I've got a big inch Hemi,
A spare big inch Hemi.
that we're gonna put in it, like knowingly
Average size inch. Let's be careful. You're saying big inch. It's average size inches.
knowingly that's a horrible idea. That just a 427 LS7 would be an absolute blast to drive, but there's just something about it. That's just got to be in there. It's what it needs. Something cool about it.
I think Mopar stuff, even with our younger customers we talked about, Mopar is still more brand loyal than Ford and Chevy.
Oh, Mopar.
Oh,
guys are
absolutely.
nut jobs.
Yeah. But even guys that aren't Mopar guys, they're wanting to build something like the Cuda or the Satellite or a Charger, and it's kind of like, well, I mean, it's kind of got to have a Hemi in it. I mean, it's got to at least have a Mopar. I mean, at least a new Hellcat or something. I
think they make a good old motor and a good new motor, where like the Ford stuff,
yeah,
have a lot of
well,
options.
they're also more iconic than.
If you had to guess out of like the big three, what's the most tattooed brand on a human being? What do you think?
What's the most what?
What's the most tattooed brand? Like people that have actually tattooed it on themselves.
Mopar, absolutely. You'll see the VIN number, the Super B logo.
The Marty report.
Yep. A lot of those guys who are really old are super annoyed that they got the tattoo of the frat zog from the 60s, and now they're using that on the electric cars.
We're going to change some standard questions up a little bit, and then we'll go back to our normal. Is there a white whale out there that you have still yet to acquire? And if so, what is it?
My opinion of what I want to acquire changes daily. I want stuff all the time. People ask me, what's your favorite car, or what car have you never had? And I don't have an answer because I do have interests all over the place. So I guess that's a non-answer.
What was your biggest disappointment and the thing that you coveted the most or wanted to get, and then once you got it, you're like, oh, shit, this sucks?
When I was 19 years old, I had a 1971 Roadrunner that was a 446-pack 4-speed car in black with an air grabber, all the Mopar guy stuff. And I sold that car, and I've been trying to relive it the whole rest of my life. And every time I get another 71 or 72 Roadrunner, it doesn't match up, and I unload the thing. So I think trying to relive my 19-year-old self on that is just never going to pay off.
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't the car. Maybe it was a lot of other things going on in life.
That's right up your alley.
Dude.
19 years old, 70 Challenger, 346 pack.
Yep.
727 torque flat.
Nope. That was a fucking 4-speed.
Oh, that's right.
Pistol grip shifter.
What color was it?
B5 blue. With the fiberglass hood that had a nice subtle bow in there, so you can stick your whole hand between the fender and the
Really?
hood. Yeah. I think every one of them did. But
Sounded cool, looked cool.
yeah, I think I ripped the side pipes off like 5 times on.
Did the
curb
bow
speed
come from the factory hood springs being too tight?
bumps. And shitty fiberglass that was 30, 40 years old at the time.
The trunklet was bowed too from the subs,
Well, that was
wasn't
a
it?
subwoofer installation there.
That was the Rockford Fosgate punches back there, 12s.
Common issue in the 70 Challenger, apparently. If you Google it, they're all over the place.
Oh.
But
Yeah,
a
lots of subs.
nasty looking car.
Modern car something you've driven, something you've done on, editorial drive, something that you personally own. Modern day, I'd say post 2000, something that you were like, this is actually pretty damn cool.
Last year, I got a last call 2023 Dodge Challenger Scat Pack. I didn't pop for the Hellcat. Still have that car, custom ordered it, Go Mango, Dynamics package, all of that stuff. And right now, I want to learn more about the new Ranger Raptor.
Yeah, Josh too. You and Josh both. Yeah. Josh has a F-150 Raptor, but he says it's just so big trying to park the damn thing.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Which it is.
It's a big truck.
What do they have for power in this?
In the little Ranger?
Yeah.
I believe that it is an EcoBoost 3.0 V6. I don't think they have the 3.5 in that. The 3.5 is in the full-size trucks.
Yeah. Yours is 3.2, isn't it? Or 3.0? Phil's got the Bronco Raptor.
I think it's 3.5, 3.6.
It's not the 3.5.
It could be.
It's not the
Bronco Raptor is a 3.5.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it sounds like shit. That's a terrible sounding motor.
Well, it doesn't sound great, but
Ford just released a factory Ford tune that like bumps them up like 60 horsepower.
Really?
Yeah.
You better get it. Does it change the exhaust note?
No, it still sounds like shit.
Okay. Here's an example of something that is not something I would do, but I love it. You know that the late model F-150s come with that 3.5 EcoBoost, and guys are hopping them up very simply and running 10s in the quarter mile with them and still driving them every day. I think that's great use of technology.
That
is fun.
That's insane.
Have you seen the single cab F-150s with the Coyotes in them? That then you get the Ford whatever package, you throw a Whipple on it, they make 700 horsepower.
Yep.
That'd be a little rocket ship.
Yeah, all-wheel drive.
That's common for guys to do in the aftermarket, but there was that dealership that was selling them new that way.
Yeah, there's a dealer in Alabama doing it.
But it's like a $45,000-$50,000 rocket ship, basically.
Yeah, absolute rocket ship.
Bang for the buck, you can't beat that. That's got to be an absolute riot.
Right, but it's not a long wheelbase. You can't haul a full sheet though.
Lay the tailgate down. You can haul
Get a bed
ass,
extender in there.
Yeah. Favorite car movie?
This is my pat answer, although I will say that it's a dark movie, but it's Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not
Peter Fonda in that is an absolute jerk, but the overall driving, the whole vibe of it, his mechanic, even I have wanted a 4-door 66 Bel Air because at the beginning of that movie, that's what they're driving after they rob a grocery store. And the guy is just wheeling the thing like crazy. And if you've seen it, you'll remember the scene where they split two semi trucks. The semis are going this way and he's going that way. And they knock both the rearview mirrors off the car, blasting through it. There's a lot of imagery in that movie I like a lot.
It was like a transition between from spaghetti Western before Tarantino. It was like that kind of vibe.
I'll give it a watch. I'm not familiar with that one.
We all talk about stories of cars and favorite cars and memories and stories and movies and stuff. One we like to come to here is your favorite law enforcement interaction story.
Okay, got this one like that.
Right there. Quick draw.
This car, the Crusher Camaro, which has been around for 30 years, starting at Hot Rod Magazine, it's now mine. I shapeshift this car all the time. It's had 8 different engines in it, 8 different looks. I do all sorts of things with it. It's my favorite car because it's just so easy to make a pro touring car out of it and then make a retro 80s street machine, then make a 70s drag car out of it. Anyway, when I put the blown big block in it, we were going to do a photo shoot for the magazine, and it was uncorked, no mufflers on it. I didn't have any shoes with me. I didn't have my wallet with me. Wes Allison is shooting pictures of me doing just flaming on fire burnouts across intersections down in Gardena, California. And I do one, and I see in my rearview mirror the cops' lights through my tire smoke. And I pull over immediately, put my hands out the window, and the guy walks up to me and he says, "You're losing this car and you're going to jail." And I thought, okay, this is a good point to start the negotiations. And he says, "Let me see your license." I'm like, don't have my license with me. Registration, not registered. Get out of the car. I get out of the car. I'm not wearing shoes, and it's uncorked, and he's running it. He finally says to me, you know, what am I going to do with you here? And I said, well, I know my driver's license number. And he's like, you know your driver's license number. And I did.
Asked a lot.
I told it to him. He ran it. He saw I was clean, and he comes back and I'm you know, spread eagle on the hood at this point. And he says, what do you expect me to do with this? And I said, officer, my shop is a block away. I'll get in the car. I will park it in the shop. You will never see it again. And the guy said, that's the right answer. Get out of my sight. And I got away.
Nice.
Man, you dodged a bullet on that one.
You didn't drop like
I did.
the Hot Rod magazine, the Roadkill, none of that to get out of it?
No.
Free t-shirt, nothing?
None of that.
That's true.
Nope.
From speaking from experience, when they're that mad, just go along with the flow.
Yeah, because
Don't try to negotiate.
That's more not speaking, that's learning from mistakes.
Well, okay. Well, yes.
kind of
but-
went the other direction, right?
Yeah, you can obviously try to negotiate or tell them that they're acting, you know, insane and they need to calm down. That's the wrong answer.
To me, respect and truth almost always get you out of the situation.
100%. 100%. If you were not doing what you have done for the last 20 years in the automotive world, what would you be doing? What do you see yourself? What different path would you have taken?
Well, outside of automotive entirely, because I've thought if I never got the job at the magazine, I would be working in the automotive aftermarket in marketing or something like that. If I was completely outside of automotive, probably something history related. I really love history. I don't know how I would have ever made money out of that, but I dig it.
Well, high school history teachers make bank. Yeah. Drive a K car. We're a little.
Drop a Hemi in it.
Is history even a subject still?
I don't know if they even teach history anymore. I think it's.
They do.
Do they really?
Yeah.
This is kind of a perfect segue. I was going to ask a question based on something you brought up earlier, but what do you have to say to all the teachers out there? This is kind of asking on my brother's behalf here. We're now 2 generations.
Just ask me.
We're now 2 generations into you're not going to amount to anything based on you're looking at Hot Rod magazine and watching Hot Rod videos all these years, and you're kind of responsible for both of those at this point.
Yeah, it's true. I think the worst damage with that attitude is shaming kids for wanting to go into the trades, which I think is a crime. Not everybody needs to go through college and enter the corporate life. They need to have their hands on stuff. And I think society needs that desperately. And so that's what I would say to teachers is bring back shop classes, or at the minimum, counselors make sure that kids know that they can do a trade school instead of go to junior college.
That's good. Mine was going to be more abrasive, because I heard it in a movie, and it would be something like, "Who's retarded now, motherfucker?" You know?
Yeah. Well,
Because
that
they
could
thought-
also, you could
Dude,
say that.
Yeah, I used to have to have.
That's another way.
We had meetings, and they're like, I'm sitting right here, and they're telling my mom there's something wrong with this kid. They're like, there's something wrong with him. I'm like, I'm right here.
You did. First of all, you've just made a living. You didn't prove them completely. They didn't say you're never going to be successful. They said there's something wrong with you.
Oh, so you think that still stands? I didn't prove him wrong yet?
I don't think you proved them wrong. You just made a living in spite of it.
Okay.
Yeah, the version I heard was you're not going to amount to anything reading all these Hot Rod magazines all the time.
There was that too. Yeah.
Well, the trades thing though, we're joking around, but we've talked about it a shit ton on this podcast, and we've delved off in it pretty deep, and we talked about it from the trade school standpoint. We've talked about it from the high school standpoint. We've even talked about it as all of us that are in the industry as parents are also somewhat to blame, because society and us in general, you know, you always say, well, you want better for your children. You're like, you know, it's the easy thing is go get an education and get a better job, right? Now the education thing's like, well, maybe just get a better job. You don't have to like get the education because you're going to go in, you know, 250 grand in debt, you know, and then come out with an entry level job and probably not ever pay it off. But from the automotive side, even me, I've been like, man, I know you love it, right? I know you're super into it, like, but there's easier, more rewarding ways to make a living, right? But at the same time, like I look back and nobody could have told me no. Nobody could have said that's stupid. Like if you're passionate about it, you're passionate about it. But I think there's so many parents all over the place that are to blame for, oh, I mean, you want to be a greasy mechanic? You want to be a greasy mechanic your whole life? That was the thing, you know. That was even when me growing up. My dad told me, you know, like that's what you want to do with the rest of your life? Have grease under your fingernails the rest of your life? And that's just the stigma. And forget the schools, forget the opportunities. I mean, even us as parents in society, it's kind of looked down upon as, you know, any of the blue collar trades, not just mechanics, just blue collar in general. I don't know how you change that. Write a magazine article about it or something. I don't know.
YouTube video.
Mike Rowe's been trying for a long time.
Mike Rowe's doing a great job with it. Really great job.
We got to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, he's. I don't know.
I don't think
he's
he can
like
do it.
I don't know. I don't know anybody. Last one. Best piece of advice you ever received.
Ooh. Wow. There's one that popped to mind that isn't really that relevant, which was, I forget what I was doing, but I was with Don Prudhomme, you know, Don the Snake Prudhomme.
Hell yeah.
And something had happened and I was like, I shouldn't have won that because of whatever. And he's like, don't ever apologize for winning. So there you go.
Yeah.
Huh. That's a first on here.
That's the one that pops to mind.
I like that. Dave, it's been awesome.
Yeah, been great, man.
Good meeting you. Or
Yep.
having a deeper conversation, and hope to see you out at SEMA, and maybe we can hang out again.
Would love to, man.
I hope so.
Appreciate
See you there.
it, dude.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Good hanging.
Appreciate it.
You.
Take care.
I just realized that I never hit record on the Zoom. I don't know if you have to. We will see. I don't think you have to. I think it goes through.
I thought the Zoom was always the backup.
I thought the Zoom was a backup. I feel comfortable.
I hope Zoom was a backup.
Let's talk about this bourbon before we dive too deep into whatever else we're going to talk about. Because this is
Pour this
The
guy.
bourbon was the next thing.
Pour that again. Dude, John Jackson has been like the curator. Between John Jackson and Cousin Mikey, they're like curating our bourbon selection.
I wouldn't put them in the same category.
Yeah,
John Jackson comes up on the podcast a lot. We give him a little bit of shit every now and then, thinking that he's going to get knocked off the pedestal for greatest gift. Right? That was actually, he's corrected me. That was a truck stop treasure.
Yeah, I got that too. I told
So-
him it's a technicality, so there'll be an asterisk next to it.
So he's got the greatest truck stop treasure, bar none.
Yep.
he has won it unless we bring it back and somebody challenges.
He's won it, right? So he holds the title, and he also, I'm declaring it right now, he definitely holds the title on the best bourbon finds, suggestions. He hasn't. There's been the ZZ Top, right? But he's redeemed himself from that.
No, he didn't bring the ZZ
He didn't bring
Top.
the ZZ. That was Tim brought the ZZ.
Tim brought the ZZ Top.
And
We talked about the bell.
Spencer followed it up with the Slipknot.
Yeah, Slipknot redeemed itself. However, John Jackson has done an absolute amazing job. He's always bringing us great bourbons.
And he's ruined my tequila collection.
That's like a little secret thing you get.
Yeah, we don't we don't
I'm
get
just
the
throwing it out
tequila.
there.
We've never
Yeah,
tasted them.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you have.
They're kind of like John just like brings them to you, and then you're like, we need to put these away so nobody drinks them.
Right there. There's one. There's the Caramisi right
Right.
up there that he got.
I didn't drink that.
And then the Tears of Lenora we had it this weekend. That's that flip top. That's a fucking absolute
I never had
banger.
it. I saw the bottle. The bottle was awesome.
Well, the bottle was there. You
Okay.
could have drank it.
All right, I thought it came with strict instructions if nobody drinks this.
Yeah, you said don't drink it. This is my special gift from John Jackson.
No,
you
I
said that.
I said that about this, so we could open it on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
I think you and John Jackson need to go out to like a nice dinner and sample some of
That's,
these.
John's got phenomenal dinner
Yeah, he does.
recommendations as well. That'd be a great time.
Any more zingers?
Hey, well played. He does. Yeah, he's just.
What do we have here?
He's a very well-rounded guy. But that's phenomenal. As I'm sitting there, what's the name on that?
Iron Root Harbinger. Yeah, good old Iron Root. Iron Root Republic.
Out of Texas.
Yep. He was just at the distillery. He sent me a video showing
but
me he
it
was there,
is-
said he was going to bring a bottle.
I don't know what the proof is, but it's sweet. It's sweet, and the whole time I was sitting there, as my glass started dwindling away, it has like a total maple syrup smell to it.
Yeah.
I got a lot of
I
cinnamon.
thought somebody was eating some pancakes over here.
There need
It's-
no pancakes.
It's very good. It's a 36-month-old straight bourbon whiskey. It is 115 proof.
Wow.
It's great. It's absolutely great. It's great color. It's a higher end Buffalo Trace product with some
A little more flavor.
with some spices.
It's almost like you took that. What's the Willet
Noah's
Family
Mill.
Reserve rye? Is that
Oh.
what it is?
Yeah, and then toned it down.
And then mixed it with the Buffalo Trace. It's got all those like that crazy flavor.
Yep.
A little Widow Jane decadence in there.
Yeah, but just super smooth. It's just an enjoyable bourbon to drink.
It's really, really
that
good.
is an absolute buy it, and a big thanks to John Jackson.
Yeah,
I don't know what.
it says world's best whiskey right on that tag.
Yeah, it
Is
does.
that like world's best cup of coffee? You think? That just everybody claims it.
This was
don't
USA
think so.
Today's Reader's Choice 2019. It's from Iron Root Republic. This is the Iron Root Harbinger. I don't know how many different ones they've got. This is actually a commemorative bottle. This bottle purchased on site. Please do not open. It will lose all value.
Oops.
Yeah. 36 months. If you can see, they got a ironrootrepublic.com. I'm sure you can probably go on there and order some to your state. It's an 8.0. It's an 8.0. An 8.0.
I think I'll echo that. That's a good review.
Yep. Run with it.
8.0 all the way across the board.
Nicely
Look at that.
reviewed. If that's in your collection, you're reaching for that regularly.
I don't know about that's a special occasion bourbon.
Depends on
I
how
don't
many
think
you
you're gonna be
got.
able to get it.
What's the price point?
I have no idea.
I'm just saying, yeah, if you had a shit ton of it, yeah, reach
Yeah,
for
well,
it
if
regularly. But if not, yeah, special occasion. You're right.
Really good. Thanks again, John. Great hanging out at Triple Crown. Brought us some great bourbons.
We probably owe him like a case of bourbon and tequila at this point.
It's not tit for tat. It's friends do nice things for some time without like having to get paid back.
It's just a reciprocation.
Yeah, we should. We've given him some nice suggestions of things before. Restaurants.
We did put North of Bourbon on there.
Yeah,
and that was like the ultimate validity that John Jackson went 5 nights in a row after we were there.
You know if John likes it, then
I
it
think
was
he's
good.
missing his call, honestly. I think he needs to do like a, who's the dude?
Guy Fieri.
No. Well,
in a sense.
yeah, ish. But like, he's a more hip, definitely a more hip Guy Fieri.
Right.
He's got to spike his hair.
But, cruising
some
around,
rings.
he's like a,
Anthony Bourdain.
yes, that's who I was looking for.
Perfect.
Anthony
I
Bourdain.
got you.
Anthony Bourdain, he was pretty cool, right?
Oh, he was
Yeah,
fucking
very cool.
yeah.
Maybe not that cool. So like somewhere in between.
Yeah,
Anthony
exactly.
Bourdain
He's
and Guy
John
Fieri.
Jackson's in between Anthony Bourdain
he's,
and Guy Fieri.
traveling the country.
and just taking pictures of it too.
Yeah, taking good pictures of good meals and reviewing stuff.
Yeah.
That's a great YouTube channel. For
Step
John
your game
Jackson.
up, John.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
Speaking of great diners and drive-ins and dives, probably one of the greatest gifts ever received from our one and only, our greatest truck driver, Brian Elzinga, brought something special to Triple Crown. Now,
The fact that when it was unboxed, that Josh instantly recognized it, because to the like layman, the naked eye might just think that that's
I need to.
just a napkin dispenser, right?
However, Josh, being a frequent of a certain establishment, instantly knew that is
Waffle House. As soon as I pulled it out of the box, I think I got it about there of the box, and I knew. That's a Waffle House. It's not a replica. That's movie. That's restaurant quality. OG.
Real deal.
Yeah. From service, actually in service, Waffle House napkin dispenser.
the only slight knock against Brian is that he bought that instead of stealing it from a Waffle House.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like there's a couple extra bonus points for swiping it out of the.
This is where I'll go with it. I would have thought it was like you. I echo that. It was way cooler if it was stolen. And not that I don't like. I would never steal it.
Borrowed.
Borrowed.
But if somebody
I know.
else did and gave it to you, you'd
Yes.
accept it.
Cool. And now, but I justify it because the dude that sold it to him stole it.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, good thing.
This Waffle House doesn't go and sell their old napkin dispensers
Right.
on eBay.
Like this one's a little worn out.
Right.
Let's
This is
put it
the
on
dude.
eBay.
This is the dude that stole it, and then Brian paid for it. So all things being equal,
We came pretty close to procuring a coffee mug.
Yeah, Allie was close.
Yeah.
Allie, she had second thoughts. She was the better person.
She's a sweetheart. And
I'm always afraid of the
cleaned it
karma
out.
monster.
Yeah, she cleaned it out. It was ready to go, and she got cold feet.
Those new mugs are great.
Oh,
the mug itself has always been great, but the new logo and stuff like that.
Good mouthfeel.
I'll bet. Is there like a website or anything that you can buy merch from?
I hope not.
Because that's a great that could be. That's
I just
the
think they
number one
lose a
coffee
little
mug.
bit of the
allure?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool that you can't get it.
Half of my flatware in college was stolen from a Waffle House.
Really?
Yeah. Had all the plates.
I've never paid attention to the
Contributed to
silver
the
ones.
increase in prices at the Waffle House.
That was like 20
But dude,
years ago.
you are an absolute influencer. I've got to say. So we were just at Waffle House,
Yep.
of course, coming back from Triple Crown, and we're sitting there, and we had a big party. So it was me, Kyle, and Allie, my brother-in-law, sister-in-law. We're in the booth. You guys were over at the bar top, right? And I put my order in, and Allie's playing it cool, and I hear her order, and kind of like under her breath, she's like, "I'll do a couple of eggs, and then and let's do a waffle light."
Should I slide that light in there?
Yeah, she slid it in. No,
Is that her first light order?
I think it was.
Okay.
But you don't. I learned you don't have to be bashful, because at first I was the same way. I was a little timid.
They know.
It's a fucking game changer.
I didn't know that
They give you a
know.
nod. They
I
give you
didn't-
the, they give
right.
you this.
But when you dropped it, obviously I don't like trust anything that you say.
Right, I know.
At first, I know you know a lot of things.
I know,
so
but I have to
should.
prove it. I always have to prove it.
Yeah. But that is a
Could be your greatest contribution
huge
to society.
huge game changer.
Now, if we're gonna get into, we got
We're
time.
going full review.
Let's get into it.
Get
That
into it.
Waffle House, right? That Waffle House was fucking amazing. I told you there, top three of all time. The eggs were phenomenal.
There was a little problem with the ingress egress though.
They're working on that, I heard.
Well, we didn't have a problem with it.
Kyle didn't have a
Kyle didn't have a problem with the ingress egress whatsoever.
Right.
You'd think it's an entrance, and it's honestly it's an on ramp to an interstate. But however,
There's an
if you're-
embankment, 7-inch
Yeah,
curb.
you can get in there.
and
No
about
problem.
100 yards of grass.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you
downhill.
this.
All right, back to the Waffle House.
Bet you we're not the first people that have taken that road to Waffle
I
House.
guarantee you we are.
When I saw the waffles come out, I saw your waffle come first. I told you.
Yeah,
I said,
he was instant on.
I
it.
said,
That's
oh
not-
shit, that's not a waffle light. I said, I'd send it back. That's not a waffle light. And he's like, oh, the waffle's good. It's white. I could tell by the color. It wasn't light. You got the same thing. I'm like, man. So of course I dropped mine at the end, right? She asked me 2 different times, right? The second time I'm like, yes, absolutely. I'm finished with my
You
eggs.
said go ahead and
Go ahead and drop it. And
He was in. I don't know if it's in your defense, but that was the most polite Waffle House order I've ever seen.
Well, she was a sweetheart.
She was nice. You could tell. I think honestly that was probably the Ritz Carlton of Waffle Houses. That was an establishment. Clean, super nice. She was nice, friendly. So she drops the waffle, brings me the waffle. It's the same color as you guys, and I'm like, man.
But
Also, it's
thicker.
It's a third thicker. This is the thickest.
complete rounded edges.
Complete rounded
no
edges.
mold seam on the
So
edge.
so we've got a nice Waffle House, a darker color, and now a thicker, different shaped waffle that I'm used to.
You were almost thinking this is like an imitation.
I started getting a little freaked out. I'm like, what the fuck is going on now? Like next year you're gonna tell me there's like all gender bathrooms there. Like what's going on with Waffle House? So I quarter it like I normally do, because I quarter mine like 4 pieces of pizza.
So do I, but then I
Right?
slice
And
it
then I
all up.
separate it up and I do syrup on a slice.
At a
Eat
time.
that up.
That's key.
Slice at a time. So I get in, and as soon as I get in the middle, I'm like, oh wait. It's 2024. They can change the color of the waffle and the shape, and let me give it a little bite. Oh my God. Texture was great. The thickness actually adds to it. Holy shit.
It's good mouthfeel.
Hey, I know Waffle House.
Dude, I'm telling you what,
JW House is listening right now.
My theory
And
stands true on the waffle machine. I'm telling you. I think we need to get back in there and investigate. I started it and Phil improved on it.
Phil approved of
I
it.
said there's a little shim stack in there.
Yep.
And Phil
It's
chimes
a
in.
phenolic carb spacer
Yep.
made in the shape of a waffle.
Yeah.
I think they've changed all new waffle irons
what do you
because
think?
the
No.
radius on the radius
Well,
on it's changed.
They milled it into the
into the
spacer.
carb. Into
The
carb
pattern,
spacer,
the pattern in the top's different.
Is it?
Yeah, it used to have the big square that said Waffle House in it. Now it doesn't have that.
That was every bit of 3/16, possibly even a 1/4-inch phenolic carb spacer
Yeah.
that they put in that.
Oh, it was a 3/8. It was almost
No.
3/8 total. The 3/8 total thick waffle.
Yes,
almost
right.
total.
Exactly.
Total. Right.
Phenomenal waffle.
Great
Yeah.
fucking waffle.
Dude, we have no listeners left. We
Was the waffle better than the car show though?
no, it was not.
That I really enjoyed myself there.
It was a great time. Triple crown of rotting.
Yeah, a little recap. Let's recap.
Yeah,
'Cause
let's recap it.
We rocked this podcast out. It was a
Yeah, we're only an hour and 10 minutes into
Yeah.
it, so
Yeah.
we got time to kill.
great fucking guest, but we've got some time to recap.
We had an amazing time there. Talked to a shit ton of fans and listeners. There it kept coming up, hey, I'm number 7, right? I'm number 7. I'm number 8, and I'm from US. I think that we're probably up to 12 or 13 now.
It's
Now
a baker's dozen.
at this point, when we've talked about Waffle House for long, we're probably back down to 6. But hey, they're listening.
They unsubscribed.
Bobby Alloway and Gary Case have put on an amazing show. It was a absolutely amazing time.
Yep.
And what makes the show for him is the people that come, and what makes the show for us is the people that come. And it was an amazing time.
Everybody's having a good time there. Everybody's
Yep.
having a good time. It brings some of the best cars all to one venue that you seldom see that. And they're out and about. Like it's not like you're bringing, I mean, you've got Riddler cars that are just out on the tarmac, right?
Right.
They're just chilling there.
Oh, Kevin was in that 12 Air that the Kindig Vet or whatever, just throwing loopies out there at night when we were in the parking lot, just
Drunk as
cutting
fuck,
it up.
right?
Oh yeah, just hammered.
17 Bud Lights in.
Now, great show. I got to tell you, too, that car, that's the first time I've seen that car in person.
Holy shit!
That car is one for the fucking record books.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it truly is. That's a design masterpiece. I mean,
The
that's
shapes, the way everything rolled together.
oh my
it was
god,
gorgeous.
It's like fuck Dave for
Yeah.
that. Like that's Troy Heavy level. I mean, honestly,
It is.
That is Troy Heavy level, and it is fucking gorgeous. And the shape of the way, if you look at that car from like the back 3/4 view, the way that the window opening just kind of like rolls into the roof line and rolls into the quarter panel. I mean, dude, I can't remember being that impressed with something in a long time.
It was an amazing car. Amazing car.
Truly.
There was a lot of amazing, and you're seeing stuff that was Street Machine of the Year winners, that were Riddler winners, that was past of the year winners from the last 7, 8, 9 years. Troy Light had
Light.
the Charger out.
OG fucking Charger. Still
and
looking
driving it like a fucking rental. I mean, he was driving it to dinner that night.
I don't know if he's supposed to be advertising that, but
He was driving it. The customer,
It was
it's
everywhere.
made to be driven. Yeah. I think he put something on his Instagram talking about driving it and stuff like that. It's fine. Dude, the 13, 14 people that are listening are not going to it's all great cars. We did a pick. We did a Roadster Shop celebrity pick, and we picked that Keith Hill's.
Pinky's built 33.
Yeah.
Which
Great
is
car.
That's an interesting car for us to pick too, because people look at Roadster Shop as like we're into like street machines, that type of thing. But
Not interesting if you see it.
it was funny,
Fucking awesome.
just to give you guys a little color on the pick on that. The three of us, we all went down. That is an impossible show to pick a winner.
it's fucking terrible. There's,
Well, when
100 cars you should pick. but
when
you have
builders
one.
start picking, right? Your mindset is always like, well, we need to pick the best car. Screw that.
Yeah,
Pick-
maybe it's not the best.
It's the pick.
It's really fucking good.
Well, it's well, I'm not saying best or worst or anything like that. It's you're in your mind, you're thinking like you're going to look at all the cars, you're going to judge the cars, and the one that's the most perfect is the one you're going to pick. That's not what we're doing. We walk through all the cars. Go ahead, tell them what we did.
Yeah, we walked through all the cars, and we had, we had probably like a top 5, and we came back. We're going back and forth. I'm like, damn, what the hell do we pick? And when it came down to it, I think we committed to picking 2 different cars at one point.
Yeah.
And when it came down to it, we're like,
What was the one that kept us
what
the
was
longest?
the car that just kept it? That was the car that captured us. That the three of us just continued to look at details. and it kept us there at the car for a significant length of time.
Yeah.
And it was just so
Yeah, I
damn
think
cool.
initial time we were walking by, we had no idea that Pinky's built it, and we just saw those cast apron panels. And you're like, is that cast? And you start looking at it and look at like the thickness. Is that machined? Is that sheet metal? And then you start looking at the wheels and like the center lock on them,
Yeah.
and then looking at the brakes, looking at the way the headers flow through that, and then looking at the interior and all the cool details everywhere.
Right.
And then I think you pointed out that Pinky's built it, and you're like, fuck, this thing's badass.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it stood out. It was drastically different than a lot of the traditional hot rods. Had a lot of cool stuff everywhere.
It was just
Totally
all
get on
around. It was just, it was badass, and it put the biggest smile on our face, right? And that's the same way we did the best on our S-Pick last year and the years before, right? We've always narrowed it down to 2, 3, or maybe more. And there's back and forth, right? And there's the tit for tat. There's the argument. There's the back and forth. Well, it's got this one, and you're like, yeah, but it's got this, and you're like, well, this one's got this, and back. And we always do the same shit. Where we come down and say, what's the one that kept us there the longest,
And that
and
you'd
put
wanna
the
drive.
and that we want to drive, the one that we would want to own, the one that put the biggest smile on your face, the one that you're just like, man, hell yeah. And that's
Yeah.
it's generally the easiest answer.
It is.
Right.
And for a
And it's,
33.
we never argue about when we put those criteria, we never argue about the answer.
Well, you were the one who were talking about it, and you're like, well, then that's the car.
Yeah.
Because we were going back and forth, and I'm like, man, I just kept looking at that car. And you're like, then that's the car.
Yeah. 100%.
But it's bitching. And to think about doing that, I mean, you're talking about a 33 Ford, right? How many times is a 33 Ford 5-window, which isn't even the 5-window is the least desirable car out of, the 3-window, or is obviously the one. But
I will say
just a killer.
that Keith Hill,
hot rod.
the guy that owns the car, I don't know him, right? Yeah. Briefly met him when I was sticking the sticker on there, right? I interrupted. He was doing a interview with Rhonda's Radar, right? And we had things to do, so I was like, I apologize, but threw it on there, and it kind of completely threw him off, and I apologized to Rhonda, and I apologized to Keith. But he's also the same guy that owned the, oh shit, now I forgot the name of it, the Federale Coupe, the maroon one that Pinky's built.
Oh, okay.
Yep, right, with the
That had like
Serape inside.
35 grill on it, was it?
Like a track nose, kind of. What a track nose grill? Maybe it was 35 grill.
Yeah.
Could have been 35. Yeah. Anyway, that one with the cast wheels, had the Serape interior and stuff like that. That, I've never said this publicly, I think that's one of my favorite cars of all time ever built.
So you got a little crush on
Eric?
Eric
I do.
there.
Yeah.
And
I do.
Eric, so how does that feel that Eric denied you of doing the podcast? Because he did, didn't he? Eric was like, nope.
Yeah, he said that he's not exciting enough and he doesn't want to do it. It hurts my feelings. If you want to get down to it, it hurts my feelings.
It hurts mine too because it was, what was it? Was it fully loaded? Was that what they called it?
Just loaded. Just loaded.
Loaded.
And then there was, what was the car?
Hemrod.
We had a discussion about the green sedan, right?
Yeah.
Eric's done some badass cars.
Yeah.
It's just
Dude,
no
the
question about
cartoonish traditional hot rod stuff, he just fucking kills it on.
the details is what's so cool. But he always is a little tongue in cheek with the details. That's what I like. Is
Somebody got his cell phone number?
I've got it.
Text his ass right now. Tell him it's going down, Eric.
No, we're just going to do this and shame him into doing it.
Okay. Maybe somebody could comment on this.
Eric built some nice cars, and all
on
of the
the
guys
podcast.
at Pinky's does some nice cars. I think he's just so worried about fucking making beers that he didn't got time.
Yeah, you're
to do the podcast, and that's fine. That hurts my feelings.
Right.
But the Federale
I mean,
Coupe,
Jesse's making beer, and he's still had time for the podcast. He's coming on again.
Yeah,
we're going to.
we're closer friends with Jesse.
We're going to
We are.
the brewery
That's
at some point.
Good job of ruining the surprise, but hey, go ahead. Let everybody know.
That's the beauty of this not being live. Right?
Shout out to Jesse.
Shout out to Jesse Greeny.
This is right here where we say, well, we're going to edit this out. And then
and
it
it stays.
doesn't edit out.
The amount of times I've heard you guys say you're going to edit out and then it doesn't get edited out, that's my favorite part. Like, fuck, I'm pretty sure those were supposed to like legitimately.
People say that all the
be
time. I'm
edited
like,
out.
oh man, that's most of the times that we should edit it out. It should be edited out.
God, I wonder. Man, I wonder.
Yeah, we're still around.
Yeah.
Bad chat ain't fucked you up. So, but SEMA's just right around the corner.
He's
That's-
not going to fuck with this, dude.
Oh, dude, I've got
He's gonna
plans.
Yeah, there's gonna be a whole like
think so?
wiffle
Oh, yeah.
ball baseball bat made out of like
Turns out it's not that much money for a ticket from Canada to SEMA.
Wait a minute, I heard there was a
I paid for it. I know exactly how much it cost.
There was a close call. There was a close call with the
Frontier?
FGL dude, wasn't there? You were telling me about it, that we like almost the sun and the moon and the stars almost aligned with it.
Oh.
What were you telling me?
Oh,
And you were like getting nervous.
Oh, there was way too close of a connection from somebody that I know that knows somebody extremely close to that one and was trying to find your contact and your contact without me knowing why, and I had to pry into it, and then it finally got to the bottom of it. They were trying to contact you to put you in touch with that person, to put you in touch with that Florida Georgia Line person.
Phil at roadstershop.com, Jeremy at
to set
roadstershop.com.
something up. And I was like, oh no, that's not.
Is this the one that's the MMA fighter?
Are you walking it back now?
This was the big guy that drives the square body. That's right. Tyler Hubbard, I think is his
Are you
name.
walking it back?
No,
Tyler Hubbard.
The
yes.
FGL guy that.
Yeah, Tyler Hubbard is the Florida Georgia Line guy that I've walked it back and I've apologized to. One, he's a little bigger than I thought he was going to be, right? I've said that. Now I'm not saying I couldn't handle it. I'm not fully walking it back. I mean, if push comes to shove or whatever, we got to throw bows. We got to throw bows. Like that's fine. But
is that a ludicrous
it
reference?
seems as though from his social media, things he's into now and stuff like that, I wouldn't fight him. Now the other one, I don't know.
How do you like
the
it?
other? I don't know what
the little guy.
The little guy, yeah.
You fry your crow? Do you roast it? Is it like a rotisserie?
Your what?
Before you eat crow.
Before I eat crow. I'm not fully eating crow. Hey, look, you push
get
it
the-
to
you
the
just get
limit
the
or
egg.
whatever. We're talking about individuals. You want to talk about the band Florida Georgia Line? If we want to get into that, shit still sucks. Full blown sucks. Worst fucking music out there, right? If that's what you want to hear. But we're talking about the two people that were in the band. However, I shut that down.
That's like Roadster Shop fucking sucks, but the two guys, they're all right.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the guys is. The other guy still sucks, right? 100%. Anyway, so great time at Triple Crown.
Yes.
Fucking amazing. That Keith Hill, what I was saying is he's got great taste. He's chose Pinkies to build him 2 different cars, both of them absolutely wildly different, very conservative in a way, but also push the limits in a way. Great cars. That was our pick. The award ceremony was awesome. I'm sure Bobby was probably regretting giving Tim Strange the keys to the damn castle for so long, right? Yeah. But
Never a good idea.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
We're gonna have to have
great time.
We're gonna have to have a round 2 with Tim Strange and get his ass out here, right?
I think Tim in person would be better.
Because Tim reminds me of like I didn't get picked on a lot, right?
But he'd be the bully that would do it.
Yes, but Tim fills that void, right? He 100%.
He's got your number.
Yes,
every time we're at a show,
and it's like I'm almost like kind of okay with it. You know, it's like I welcome it. It's like I know I'm going to see him. I'm firing back a little harder,
right?
You know, these days, but it's.
So you want to tell him you thought he was a bitch on the podcast, and he was just way too refined and quiet?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I will publicly say that Tim fucking out of nowhere. Tim, that was like Dr. Tim on the podcast, right?
Yeah, he was.
We were expecting.
He's like, oh yes, and I thoroughly enjoy the act of modifying the vehicles. Modifying a vehicle over the years, they've actually I call that hot rodding. And Tim, what the fuck, dude? Like.
Yeah, that was super proper.
Super professional, Tim.
So you're telling me we need to get Tim Strange in person and let him cut loose, and we need to get Bob Johnson on here to let him cut loose.
Yes.
And just go ahead and
100%
get after it.
Can we get Kerry Strange on here to talk shit about Tim?
I think Tim and Kerry would both come on and do it together. They're doing their own
I
podcast
think
now.
there'd be a fight.
No. Tim doesn't smart off to Kerry.
No.
Shit. I bet you Kerry has given Tim fucking noogies before. Full blown noogies. Awesome show. Award ceremony was even more amazing. There's probably going to be some pictures on our social media coming, which if you haven't seen them, I'm sure you've probably seen them. They're all over the place with the awards. Bobby and Alan came out of them shells. It was great. Classic Car Studio guys. They won Triple Crown with the Charger, but they also won the award ceremony because they brought it.
Yeah, they did.
They had the best award. They had the best outfits. They
looked good.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to bring it up again and say that they out the Ring Brothers in the outfit category?
Yeah, I threw it out there when they were taking pictures, and Nancy was the only one that picked it up, whatever. And she gave me that look like, that's funny. I'm glad they didn't hear.
I told Mike, I was like, dude, that looks like a fucking Ring Brothers SEMA shirt right there.
Well, just keep an eye out. We don't know what's coming for 24. You know, who knows?
For the Ring Brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah. All kinds of bedazzled.
That's a fucking, I think they must have built a car or done something, slightly modified a car, fixed a car for Ed Hardy. And that's coming as like a, hey guys, I got you. Like, I'm going to just hook this up. I don't give
Has Jim slipped you a Werther's yet?
No.
He's always asking me if I want a Werther's.
I think if the Werther's is coming, it's coming from Mike. Mike's the older soul of the two.
I will say, just because I got to get it out there, if they didn't build the car for Tom Hardy, Kenny Davis definitely did. Ed Hardy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Kenny Davis definitely did.
Is he still wearing those fucking...
That's the only jeans they sell in fucking
you got to
Oklahoma.
an interior.
We used to have a song about it, remember? She's got Kenny Davis jeans.
Little flat Betty Davis eyes. I don't know if that's ever been made public yet.
No.
Well, it has. It's out there.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing Kenny Davis here soon, too. He's coming on. Especially after you like his jeans.
Kenny's a big boy.
Yeah.
I might have to walk that
Yeah,
one.
you're going to... Yeah. Yeah, I'd pay money to see it.
Kenny's got a fucking hand like a damn catcher's.
Oh,
it's amazing he can do anything with those.
You imagine seeing
hands.
Kenny Davis and Dave Delancey shaking hands?
Oh, Jesus.
I think thunder would
Like
strike.
David and Goliath.
That's two Goliaths. There's no David in that.
Before we roll out, we got to talk about the rest of the weekend at Triple Crown. So before we do the show, before we do Triple Crown, little excursion. Came in a little early.
We did.
Right?
So
we had tickets. We had, 6 tickets to that show?
Yes. We had a shit ton of tickets to that show.
Multiple days.
That's how bad we wanted to see him. You're like, I'm not missing this.
My net worth is significantly less as a result of Josh's fucking failure to let me know what the weekend plans were.
Not a loss on me, but I'll continue to take it.
At any rate, I'm happy we did because Kyle got to come down.
It was great.
And enjoy it.
Great time.
It's great to share it with somebody because that was the fucking best concert.
What we're talking about is we flew down Wednesday, right? We hung out. We did some urban scooting.
Of course we did.
Right? If we're in a new town, they got limes. You
scooters.
got to fly those birds. Oh, well, it's limes, but...
Yeah, we fly the birds.
It's lime time.
Lime time. It's lime time. We did urban scooting, right? Ran into... we're trying to find a little afternoon drink. Went to Nudi's Rooftop Bar. Saw Cody Atkins, young up-and-comer. He'll be on the social media.
I'm impressed with Red Clay Strays or with him.
I'll tell you what, had we not seen Red Clay Strays, that would have been the absolute highlight of the week. Yeah. Was he good.
It was just all around, it was great, right? All around, it was great. It was like our own private concert. Yeah. Everything we kept throwing at him. And you could tell, like, we talk about this all the time. Like, I like when if you order at a restaurant and the kind of guy gives you like that's a good order. Just like when you order a waffle light and they're like, oh.
Yeah, they give you a little nod.
It's
like a cocktail. When you order like a Boulevardier. Like,
yep. This guy knows what he's talking about, right?
That's a connoisseur. Tip of the cap.
Same thing when we were doing requests on songs, right? And after about the third or fourth one, he kind of gives us all right, now I see where we're going.
Well, no, I think he gave us he looked around, he's like, I think they're going to throw me out of here if I play that.
Well, that was that one song.
That was the last song, and then we left.
Yeah, then we left. Tipped him well, right? We're going to have some social media up about, it's probably already up by now, Cody Atkins, great time. Then we finished the night out at the Ryman, of all places, with the Red Clay Strays. And I know I can over-exaggerate sometimes, but that's easily one of the top concerts that I've ever been to in my entire life. I
agree.
From the atmosphere, the night, the venue, and those dudes wail. He can do everything.
He's the closest thing that is the closest thing to Elvis and Johnny Cash
combined
that you'll ever see.
It was like we were watching it in black and white. It's like we were back in time.
Fucking angel. Yeah, in black and white. It's a black and white angels.
There's a black and white angel singing to us. Yeah, that's exactly the best way to describe it.
But in the rhyming, I mean,
it was amazing.
The history of that place was absolutely unreal. Let's not mention the fucking 15 stair set that me and Phil hit on the Lime scooters.
That'll be on video.
No, we didn't catch that on video.
Oh, the 15. You mean the 6 one? The 6 set.
How many do you think it was?
45 feet of drop on that, if not more. I'm surprised the tires in those Lime scooters could hold up.
I am surprised at that.
It was.
I am surprised.
You have to admit that was a massive fucking stair set.
It was chest high. It was a lot.
No, taller than chest.
No, it was chest high.
Human
Maybe
being
Dave
high.
Delancey's chest, because that was pretty high.
Yeah.
It was chest high, which chest high is a lot, right? But let's not get carried away.
I'm going 8 stairs. Am I safe to say 8 stairs? Can we agree on 8
round
stairs?
it down.
You'd be closer to 8 than 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Phil hucks it off these 8 stairs, and I'm coming in hot.
I'm third place, and I see both of you. I'm like, that seems like it ends poorly.
Yeah, and I'm
so
like,
I go straight.
It
It
crossed
did
my
not.
mind.
It did not.
It crossed my mind. I'm like, I see me coming up short and going over the bars, and how horrible this could end.
Yeah, but
I just went for it.
Yeah.
Dude, I just, I followed my big brother, and I just held the
Honest-
throttle down and just.
honest question.
Yeah.
Had I not been behind you, was there a greater chance of you wrecking that landing?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have cased it. I think I'd have hung the back tire on the second step from the end, and I'd have been over the bars.
But there was no way you were going down.
No.
I was landing it regardless.
Yeah,
That's-
Phil
Right.
was landing.
Well, of course. Yeah, it's evil. Evil. Phil Knievel. Like that?
yeah.
And you do it great,
Good
too.
tie-in. Hang
I'll
on.
say-
Hang on.
I saw the new addition to the studio.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah,
Carry
man,
on.
I gotta tell you, I watched this video. You sent some of the scooter videos through. Phil fucking does it with grace. I mean,
Phil does it like he's
I'm
been
yanking-
scooting his
I know,
whole life.
I'm yanking these stair sets, and it
That's
looks.
an insult. That's an insult.
I'm yanking these stair sets. It looks forced. I'll be honest.
Right.
Like I see it. It looks forced. Phil's just fucking flowing these things. I mean, it looks.
I'm
yeah.
surprised my knees are still
There's bar
there.
turns, and it looks good.
Yeah.
I think I gotta loosen up or something. I don't know.
That's key.
But it looks good. It looks
I don't.
fucking good.
We didn't get that one or jump the 2 stairs manual and then off.
I don't think so. No, that was impromptu. Those things can't be captured sometimes. Where'd the evil come from?
From the evil midget, actually.
Okay.
So,
Mike Cook, Steve
you
Cook's son.
do you have his Instagram name? Is it the evil midget?
Yes.
It's the evil midget.
The evil midget on
Yeah.
Instagram.
It's a colorful can.
So he's been getting into some mini bike tricks, doing some stunt stuff,
Really?
and he did a Evil Knievel deal where they rode the mini bike up the ramp where Evil tried to jump Snake Canyon.
Yeah.
And they got the rocket mounted up there.
Okay.
And then this company did a line of Evil Knievel beer. So he bought a case of it, brought one for us, and could be the best looking.
Oh, it's a
craft
great
beer
looking can.
Yeah, ever.
That's a good looking can. Anything. I want that Evil Knievel pinball machine too.
That'd be pretty sweet.
The fucking colors, man.
You should have bought the van at Barrett a couple years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
That could be one of your biggest failures.
You think so? If you had to put your finger on number one, is that
It's
Top 5.
Up in the top.
okay?
It's in the top. It was a miss, not a failure.
Yeah,
It's just a miss.
Missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity.
of course.
So don't know
True
anything-
Evil, American Blonde Ale from it's from Normal, Illinois. Did you see that?
Did
How
not.
about that?
Distill Brewery. Normal, Illinois. Right there on the top.
What is it? He was talking like I heard him mention like IPAs and stuff. That's
No, he said not. They do another one that's
Okay.
going through the ring of fire, and it was an IPA that tastes like you're drinking a pine cone.
I feel anybody that says the word IPA is not somebody I want to like. I like him. He's fucking pretty cool.
Oh man, you should have heard some of the stories.
Anybody
When we were
talking
tearing
IPAs?
down, he rolled by on the scooter and had a few and was telling some stories. That dude's been into some things.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of them.
Yeah.
We've had a chance to talk quite
Yeah.
a bit.
We're putting together a mini bike ride.
We should.
He's got a mini bike that he does a lot of stunts and drives through fucking pallets on fire and jumps shit.
How far you think we could do a mini bike tour?
I don't know.
Not as far as you do the scooter tour. Should we talk about that?
Didn't you did a fucking
did.
long ass mini bike tour?
I did a fucking awesome mini bike tour, which that kind of just gets me jazzed to do the scooter tour because
Scooter tour's coming.
Me and like 3 of my buddies, we did mini bike tour. We left my house, and it was my house to the shop and back, and it was probably, I don't know, I mean,
Here we go.
20 miles? 20 miles round trip the way we went.
Okay. Power lines.
No,
That's a valid number.
Yeah, that's a legit number, but no, not necessarily power lines. Like, dude, I mean, you live here, right? It's a populated fucking area, but
Yep.
you would be absolutely shocked at like the backwoods trails and things
Really?
that you get into. We go through like a neighborhood, and then we end up in like a field, and all of a sudden this dude shows up on a golf cart. And he's like, I thought we're getting fucking bounced out of here because he's all like pissed off. And we make friends with him. And he's like, you know what you guys need to do? Head across the street right there and follow them train tracks. And then you'll find it was like you remember the movie Radio Flyer?
Yes.
Where it's like, if you
Yeah.
head down the hill and you do this. It was just like that. Dude, it was fucking amazing. It's one of the most memorable experiences of my life. Like,
Really?
riding the fucking train tracks, and you show there's like ravines and like things it's like the things you see when you're on the train, right? And you're like, I never knew that existed.
That's what I was talking about with the scooter trip. That's the things I want to explore.
All that shit. And then came full circle, came back, and we had a couple drinks at Crossroads. Responsibly, came all the way back.
Right.
Soda pops and water.
Yeah, it
iced
was
teas,
fucking amazing.
perhaps.
Yeah, sarsaparilla.
Arnold Palmer.
Right.
Yeah, it was me, dude. Dude was there.
Okay.
Sloan Ketterling.
Yeah. Keith Kraft.
You don't even know. The scooter trip is going to be epic.
Yeah.
I don't think we should give all the details away until after we do it.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
We'll
I think we
document
need a
it.
little encouragement because it's just an idea right now. I think somebody needs to push us.
Oh, I'm down. Let's go tonight if you're ready to get started.
Well, here's the deal.
Okay.
If you jump on we're looking at Lime, right?
Lime,
We're on the You're
right?
on
That's the
Lime app.
fastest.
The Lime scooter.
Fastest by far.
If you look at the
Rear-wheel
Lime
drive,
scooter app, it
pneumatic
gives you the
tires.
boundaries. Okay, it gives you the boundaries. So Lime exists in the Chicagoland area. And as we look at the Lime app and you see the boundaries, you can follow the map way south. You can go as far south as south side where you're almost over the border in Indiana. And as you follow it up northwest, it's going all the way out to basically O'Hare Airport, right? So
Zoom has lost interest and just ended.
That's fine. No big deal.
yeah, Zoom's not into this story.
It's fine. Zoom said, I'm falling asleep.
Point being, I think you're probably, in the ballpark of, what do you think, 35 miles that you, 30, well, if you really wanted to go way south, you could probably go 50 miles.
Right. I'm looking at, we're probably going to do a 30 to 35 mile run.
Yeah.
Right.
So what we want
On
to
ridges.
do,
We're talking about on ridges.
No, they get front suspension.
Yeah, front.
what we want to do is get the band together, and we want to start, we're thinking, you want to start up in Niles, right?
Yeah, we're going to start, Niles or O'Hare-ish,
Okay.
right? We'll start, I'm thinking we're going to probably start around the 3 o'clock range, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we got till midnight.
Where are we going to meet?
And we want to get
We're going to
south.
start Niles. We're going to roll. We've got to basically get to the farthest south train station that Lime will let us get to hop on the train and roll back north.
Back.
Farthest south?
Oh no,
Not that
no, we're
south.
going the opposite way. We're going
You
to
wanna
roll.
start south.
We're going to start south and roll our way back.
I just watching the news. I don't know that I want to be in that area.
Well, we're gonna go.
That makes it a little more spicy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. We got
a little sporty.
Yeah, it's scooters. Did you see how fast those things can go?
Yep.
We're gonna roll the train south. Makes no sense to anybody. Nobody gives a fuck. We're gonna do it, and we're gonna take Elliot with us to document it.
Yeah.
We'll have chest rigs. You could see third person tricks, first person tricks, all kinds of tricks.
I want to see you bust some tricks.
I'm telling you, when we go on a scooter trip, I'm coming.
Josh is
gonna
just
bust a
fucking
hip.
gun shy.
I-
After that wreck, dude, you are. I haven't even seen you go over a crack in the road. You stop when there's a crack in the road.
I do some small jumps.
You stop, you get off the scooter, and you walk it over it.
I don't.
After that wreck,
Yeah, I've bounced. When you bounce the head off the concrete at 65 miles an hour, and then feels like stay down. I'm fixing to bunny hop you.
it's coming. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to
We're
it.
running out of time
Yeah, we're going to have to do it
till next
fall.
season.
Yeah, we'll do it in the fall,
All right, let's hit it.
right before SEMA. Then just want to you can show with a broken leg. All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you again next week.